Hey guys, it's Didi Sanchez with Scrappy Gamer DDS, and today is a little bit of a different kind of video for me. I am going to do a tutorial. Hopefully it'll go over well. It's my first and it's a trial run. What I mean by a trial run is that I haven't done a class before. I've scribbled a lot of ideas down and I finally took my ideas off the paper and produced what I think a class would look like. 3 items, something that is what I guess I would call basic, not too much going on, which is the card on the left hand side, and then something a little more stepped up with some technique, such as the card on the right hand side, and then including also a 3D object, favor box, bag, something of that nature as part of the class. So I demo each one. The attendees would be able to actually create one of each from start to finish, and then I would provide a cheat sheet with all of the listing of all of the products, the papers, the sizes, the cut lines, score lines, etc. And I would also produce a video that was of me doing each of the projects rather. And I would give that website URL to the attendees, and it would be for their eyes only. And then maybe in a week, a month maybe after, I would let it go live to everyone else. So they would have exclusivity for a month. So I want to get your feedback as to what you think about those ideas, and also what you think about the projects. Is this too much? Is this too little? I'm thinking, I don't even know how to price it. I went to a class, paid $15. I got 2 cards out of it. No real direct instructions, no follow-up afterwards. I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of $30. Is that too high? Is that too little? I don't know. Sounds reasonable or not? So any feedback would be awesome. So you guys tell me what you think, and I'm going to let the video start from here. So thanks so much for watching. So this was my first set that I was anticipating doing for January. So like I said, I would consider this something more of a basic card that was not too girly, could be for a guy, and I will into the love theme in anticipation of February. This would be something that is new and sort of trendy, which is the shaker cards. And the process of making this, and still on the basic side, and then doing something 3-dimensional, which is this little, I think they're called candy crackers, but little candy boxes. And I just went with a nice neutral, well, not a screaming red, it's a nice simple pink, something for a teacher's gift, the child in your life, teenage girl, things like that. So I anticipate making this into a class. So here's my box of goodies with everything that I need to make my cards and projects. So this is scraps. You will need some kind of ribbon. I went with some basic red ribbon and also some black ribbon, and then I had this very fuzzy one, but I felt it was too wide. But any ribbon of your choice would be work. The stamp sets that I'm pulling pieces from are the Something to Say, and we're going to use the Love You Always, and also the little stripy heart from that. We will need the kind of eclectic, and we're using this large sunburst, and this will be a background, and you'll see how that's going to be incorporated. And then I also have that's the ticket, and this one has a very specific Valentine's Day stamp. So it's a Valentine's Day ticket, and so those are the 3 stamp sets from Stamping Up. To coordinate the ticket boulder punch, because we will need this shape for the candy cracker, and we will need the sweetheart punch, and from the itty bitty accent think it's itty bitty accent or itty bitty punches, the heart punch. And then for a variety of shapes or sizes, I have the Martha Stewart cluster punch. But if you are strictly Stampin' Up, you could buy the border punch, and it does have a variety of shapes that you can punch it out and then have some other size hearts. So you don't necessarily have to buy Martha Stewart. You can buy anything that has a cluster. Then I have, very similar to Stampin' Up, 2 EK Success. A 1-inch square and a 1.5 inch scallop square. So these will layer together nicely. And then I also have the Hearts of Flutter. Now this is a framelit set which coordinates with another stamp set, but I wasn't using any of those images. And from here we're going to use these two. The large heart with the scallop and the smaller heart. So I'll take those out now. Okay, so those are basically your supplies. Hopefully I have not forgotten anything, and we can check your supply list. I think I got it all. And so we're going to start to create. So I'm going to put all of this off to the side and I can grab and go. So we're going to need 5 colors, I believe. We're going to need a pink. We're going to need white and red. We're going to need gray. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to need a craft, 5. Another darker red, which would make 6. So 7 different colors. 7 different colors to create our 3 different projects. You could trade out some of the pink and red and make them more matchy-matchy. You could opt for both of your card bases to be the same color. That's entirely up to you. So the way that I designed this was to have you guys cut out the pieces that you needed for the different cards, and that you would be able to use some of the elements from your cutouts of one card in the other card. Namely, this one is pretty much self-contained. So you have a pink sheet which will measure 6.5 wide by 5.5 tall, 6.5 by 5.5, and we're going to be scoring this several times and creating this cracker. And then we will use part of this white and red scrap to make the little tag. Okay, oh, some baker's twine. Then we will also be cutting out from here some hearts and such for the basic card. And the basic card has a layering effect along with the hearts that we're punching out and the square scallop. So that's part of it. But we will need the hearts from the shaker card that we're going to be cutting out here, and that will be added in as an embellishment. So I'm going to begin with the one that doesn't need to rely on pretty much anything else. So let's take out this guy. So 6.5 by 5.5, and we're going to be scoring this. So you will need a scoreboard. You can have any scoreboard. I have a Martha Stewart, very similar to the Stampin' Up Simply Scored. And I'm getting my cheat sheet for the score lines in front of me. So just to give you a little preview, which wouldn't happen normally in a regular video, because we're talking about getting some feedback. This is all of my planning for this class. Okay, so take a stylus with a decent size head. You want enough of an impression that you get some good score lines. And so putting the 6.5 side across first, what we want to do is score at 3/4. So here's my dilemma with the video. I will try to add the actual score marks in text on the video, so hopefully it'll be somewhere around here. So 3/4 we score down, nice and deep, and then at 1 3/4 we're going to score down again. And then rather than trying to find a number over here, just rotate your paper all the way around so it's flipped over 180, and then score again at the same locations at 3/4, and then again at 1 3/4. Okay. And so what that does is that it creates these edges here so that you can have an easy tie, and it won't give you this any kind of weirdness. It won't collapse the box in the center of this. So now we need to actually create these panels again. So we're going to turn it on a short side. So now we have the 5.5 side across. And with the 5.5 side across, we need to do another bunch of score marks. So we're going to score at 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch all the way down. And then we're going to score at 1 3/4. And then again at 3 inches. And then again at 4 1/4. 4 1/4. Okay. So 1/2, 1 3/4, 3 inches, 4 1/4, and then the rest will be left. And so you will have, if you can see, 1, 2, 3 panels, and then this edge here, which is going to be what we're going to use to close it all together. Okay, so we don't need the scoreboard anymore. None of the other projects will need it, so we can definitely put it way far out of our way. We will in fact be needing to bring in another tool in a second, which is the envelope punch board. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold down the long side all of our pieces, okay? And we could fold the other sides, but I want it to be as flat because we're going to be sticking this and punching out notches down these 2 columns so that we can create that tying up effect. So what we're going to do is take the envelope punch board, and this first and second score line, I planned it out so that if you line this up with the 1/4 inch and this little pointy piece from the scoreboard, so from the punch board rather, this thing lands on the scoreboard. It's almost practically right on there. It's going to give you a good centering. So we're going to have some punching going on. We're going to be punching this quite a few times. So we're going to punch this 1 time. 2. Okay, so now it's very hard because you're punching through 2 layers, but that's fine. Just give it, give it a good, from above straight down. This one, and then you punch over here. And so you will have nothing to fold over here, so you're going to punch it just once through 1 layer. So this should be super easy. Also, I did do a slight error, so this happens, but it could still work because this side will be glued down anyway. So on every fold, we're supposed to punch. So this will happen here. Now this is not going to be that much of a big deal because this is going to be glued to this on the other side. So every fold needs to be due. So now you don't have the marks, so all you need to do is turn the paper over. You can still see the score marks. You can still line it up with the 1/4 and punch, fold. Line it up with 1/4, punch, fold. Line it up again with 1/4, punch, fold. Again, 1 more time. And then the last one that does not, but it's almost a full box, we're just going to punch. So, and we're done with this. Now, what we're going to do now is you can reinforce the fold of the score that you made at the 1 3/4 and the score that you made at the 3/4. Okay, so that's going to see that that's already weak right here, so that's going to want to give in. So we're going to do that back and forth, okay, and then we'll do it on the other side. And then we'll do that on this side as well. Again, and then since this one's a little weird, I gotta do this by manual right here. Alright, now, sometimes plain paper, if you wanted to use designer series paper with this, you can pick a nice, pretty background paper. You can make your own. I wanted something subtle, and like I said, I'm using all of the scraps and papers that I have already on hand, so I decided to make my own little basic. So you'll see, hopefully the glare is not too bad, that I've stamped some silver hearts. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to take out this Encore silver. I'm going to take the little heart from the stamp set that I told you before, which is Something to Say. And we're just going to stamp all over the page. You can stamp on, stamp off. You should turn the heart around as much as you can, just to give it some variety. And if you wanted to do it on the ends as well, you could stamp over here as well. I chose not to. But again, this part is where you can get creative and make it your own. Maybe you want to have a darker color. Maybe the silver is a little bit too light for you. And you just want to fill in all the spots that you feel need a little something. Okay, so I think that I'm done. So now I have this. I'm going to close this up for now. And I'm going to just take a white bee, just for now. I don't like to let it sit there. Don't forget to clean your stamps. The sooner the better, I suggest. Let me clean off our stamp. And that's good. So now, to assemble, you're going to need some kind of adhesive, and you're going to place the adhesive on this thin 1 inch, 1/2 inch, what was it? Sliver that we had done before. So we're going to do that. We're going to put adhesive on everything that's showing, and then we're going to be able to fold this down and fold this down, and then I would line these two up in the center first, then make sure that the ends line up, and then come on the other side and line that up. So now you have created a little tube. Okay, I just looked up. Hopefully I was in camera the entire time, but we've taped it together right here. Okay, and so what you'll notice is that if you just push it slightly and you push the ends together, you get the shape that you need. It will collapse nicely and the middle centerpiece will fit. Now fill this with whatever you want, but notice that this hole will remain, so don't fill it with anything that's too tiny. So, or sticks, like mint or anything like that, sticks. You need stuff like the little mini Hershey's or Hershey's Kisses. I believe 6 Hershey's miniatures would fit in here, or 10 Hershey's Kisses would fit. And so if you wanted to put a mixture, that would probably work very nicely. 3 and then maybe 4 or 5 of the other one, maybe 6. And so you could also shorten this once you've learned this method. Okay, so what you need now is the string, the ribbon, and the stamping for this. So let's grab some ribbon. Okay, trying to be as frugal as possible. I believe that I needed 12 inches, so we're going to do 12 inches. So I chose to put red. Okay, 12 inches might be a little short. I'm going to go for 16, just to give myself some room. So I'm going to take out my snips, and I'm going to give myself 16 inches for each side. I don't want to struggle. I don't think any of us want to struggle. I think that ribbon is pretty inexpensive, that we can go for it and not worry too much. I will also need a length of baker's twine, so I'm going to be, again, 12 inches. I'm not going to be cheap or stingy. Very inexpensive as well. Spools and spools of it. We all have it. Okay, so we're going to take our ribbon once we fill. So we're going to take one side first. Try to tie your bow opposite to where your edge is. That was the sealed edge. So this is my sealed edge. I'm going to wrap my ribbon this way and then make this the top. So we'll just do a simple bow. We'll wrap it around. Make sure that they are relatively the same length. Make one loop, wrap around, and then tie it back, tie it like that. So you play with your loops until you get the desired length, and then we'll cut it off in a few. Go around to the other side after you fill it. So we fill, lay it down, and we do the second process over here. And we will make our bow. If it's weighted down with candy, it'll stay in place, right? And again, we'll fuss with the size of the bow, the size of the ties, and then we're going to put it off to the side so we can do our other stamping. So we had two little pieces that I showed you, and if you're going to make multiples of anything, we want to try to cut them out and know that we're going to need and have enough space. So these guys are 4 inches by 1 3/4. They're a piece of another piece of cardstock that made parts of these layers. So it worked out that all we needed was going to be this. So we will be taking our ticket builder punch, and then we will also be using our label square and scallop. So since we're going to be playing with these two pieces of paper, we're going to use everything that we need, and we'll be using a multiple heart. So I need the white one, and I need our Valentine's Day heart, Valentine's Day ticket. And I'm going to open real red, and you're going to take your real red and your stamp. And if it falls off, I have no problem with putting a little tape on the back of it. Okay, I think we all have that. I'm going to wash my blocks probably. Ink that up nice. Try to go as close to the edge because you are going to use a punch. So might as well not waste any space. And we're going to punch. That came out pretty nice. Nice and crisp. So we're going to be using our ticket builder. Okay, let me just wipe this off really quickly, just because I cannot let it sit there. And we will close this because I am not going to use the real red again unless I feel like I want to add something later on. So the ticket builder punch on the white. And we're going to center, looking through the window, and we're going to punch it. Try to get that nice white edge as even as possible. Punch it, and it punches out this extra little piece. I'm not sure. It's a miniature. It's really tiny. I'm not sure what we can use that for. So we need one of these, and we will need another one for accent. So we have another one. Okay. While I'm here, I'm going to take, well, I can't do anything with this right now because I need to punch a stamp on this, so we'll hold off. I want to finish off this one project at a time. So now, these two are going to be decoration for our candy cracker. So this one is slightly different, and I punched a heart and I did a simple little heart punch through the number 14 that was there, but I felt like it was not sitting quite right. So we learned from our first template, and I'm going to change it up slightly. I'm going to make it look like this, like it's hanging off. So I'm going to need to add a little tape to the back of that. And I'm going to do a little offset like this. So we have a little ticket that looks kind of cute. And then if you have any kind of punch, that's a hole punch, you can get one of the real small ones from Stampin' Up. I just happen to have a heart punch on hand in my stash. So I'm just going to punch a little heart. You can see the heart right in the end. And I'm going to fold my thread, my baker's twine in half. I'm going to push that through the heart. Open this up. And then grab my tails right there. So now I have a tag that I can tie to the end of this. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead here and add this little tag straight away to the end of the to the craft. And again, just like any of the bows that you're making, you're going to play with it until you have them the way that you want. And we're going to just snip off at a nice little angle all of our red ribbon, so it looks nice and neat. And there you go. You have your nice little cracker filled with candy. And so this is the first project. So if you want to just be done with this right now, you can place it on pause. Otherwise, I'm going to just swipe this away and we're going to continue with the next. So these guys to the side. Alright, so what we're going to work on now is going to be what I have, which design, whatever, which is the shaker card. I like dark bases, they add something different, but then they also need to have some other backing because you need some place to write, unless you have chalk ink. Then you won't need the second layer on the inside. So the card opens like a book with tall being the vertical and the short being on the horizontal. So you could, in fact, score it if you wanted to. I'm not going to take out the scoreboard right now. I'm going to match up the edges. I'm going to use the side of my stylus to just like a bone folder. So here we go. So here we go. So our 5.5 by 8.5, we get our card. So the two layers are slightly different. We have, what normally would happen is we would go in 1/4 inch and we would get a nice little edge. And so that is what's going to happen right here. Now, but I did this one slightly more in, so I went in 1/2 inch because this is actually our top layer. So we want this to have the nice edge and this to be the background for our shaker. So these two will be up here to the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to adhere a full 5.25 by 4 to the inside. So 1, 2, 3 strips of adhesive, and then we will try to eyeball this. And once you feel like it is where it needs to be, then you can drop it into place. And now we have our nice insert where we can write our sentiments. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is that this is going to be the background. So let me take out the card. What we have here is a shaker. And a shaker with an insert. So we'll get a couple of extra hearts out of some paper in a few. This looks nice. And it's always good to have a background on the inside. So I just picked something subtle that was a starburst because I wanted it to go behind both hearts, like they're bleeding into each other. I don't know if you can tell that because it's very light. So they connect to each other. So I thought that that was a very nice detail. And then again, it's just a matter of putting in whatever confetti you like. But we do see that there are several layers here. The top layer being the red and then there is the white layer on the bottom that you can see, which is the background. So we're going to cut the top layer. We need this as a reference. So we're going to use the Big Shot. And I happen to have a Big Kick, which is the same thing. Before I joined Stampin' Up, I got this. And so it is just the brand name that is sold in most big top stores like AC Moore and Michael's and things like that. So it's in essence the same thing, it's just different packaging. So what we're going to do is we're going to place the hearts. Okay. Now we are going to go running it twice because what I want to do is I want to do a border. If I just cut this heart out, then I will have the hole that I need for my shaker card. But I want an additional heart, and I need the bordered heart for the other card. So this is why I'm making most of our supplies. So we're going to do this. Place this guy. If you have a magnetic board, that would be awesome. So place it so that the little one is nicely in the center of the bigger one. And we're going to run this through. And you'll hear the cracking, the familiar cracking. And then I just run it back to get it out. So that's our first pass. So what you're going to see is this is going to pop up very easily. And you're going to have a nice embellishment for your basic card. So I'm going to put that to the side. And then we're going to have the heart that goes on the interior of this card. So that's going to be for this card. Now, the front of your card has one heart. I thought it would be cute to have two, so we're going to put it close to it, a little down, and we're going to run it through one more time. Okay. So as you run this through, you would probably hear cracking, but it's such a quick little die, didn't hear it. So here's our second heart for the insert. Take off, and now we have our holes for our shaker. And we are done with the Big Shot. So off to the side. So this is the components you have. You have the red, top, the white, the actual card. So we can, right now, just because we don't want to lose any pieces, attach the hearts on the inside. That will not hurt us. They're not adding any dimension. Unless you wanted to, then you could definitely add some dimension to the hearts. That is totally up to you. So here we go. Two little hearts. So you'll notice that I did do stamping as a background. I didn't really put anything in here. You can find a lovely sentiment and just stamp it in the center. You can handwrite whatever you would like to say to the loved one that you're going to give this to. So I left that completely open and in your hands. Okay. So now, here's what I'm going to do. I want to lay this on top, and I want to see that it's centered. And what I want to do is make a tiny little mark with a pencil. Sorry, that's an email. And hopefully that won't happen in an official video either. So why am I doing that? Because remember the starburst, the sunburst that I have? I want this sunburst to stretch past both hearts. So I'm going to mark where this little bridge is so that I can put the center of my sunburst right there. And here is where you can decide how bold you want to go. I, again, stuck with the silver. And so I'm inking up my silver onto the starburst, sunburst. That is from the Kind of Eclectic again. That's where it's from. And since it's a big stamp and it's much bigger, I like to do it this way. And I'm sure you've seen this tip and all over YouTube, because that way you can really see that you've gotten great coverage. Now, what we're going to do is try to center ourselves. And let me just, I don't want to get ink all over my craft mat. Center myself above that and then stamp this down. Nice and solid. Okay, so we have this going on. And so I'm a little bit lower than my little dots, but that's okay. and we're not going to need this anymore. So let's wipe it down. So the one item that I did forget as well, I think I've forgotten a couple things, but I mean this is a biggie, is the acetate. You're going to need some kind of window sheet in order to make this work out. Okay, Stamping Up does sell window sheets, so you could definitely get some directly for them. Being that we all want to be frugal, I'm going to give you my frugal tip, and I think I've seen a couple other people mention this as well, so it's not the only an original from me, is that when we get packaging from our different supplies, a lot of you will keep stuff in packaging, so this might not work for you, but a lot of us will separate the packaging into different containers. So like for example, when I got all these sequins, they were in a bag. I put them into little containers that I labeled so I can store them differently. Well, when you get packaging, you know, that they have those, that glue, and then you pull out whatever it is, this is pretty flat. I mean, you can see a little bit glare to it, right? Basically, it's much thinner than the acetate, but it works just as well. So you'll need a piece cut out of that. So I've cut a piece of that. Okay. This is going to be what's going to hold the shaker stuff, the glitter and whatnot inside. So I'm letting this dry just slightly because I do have those little black marks in pencil, and so I just want to go in and lightly buff them out. You may or may not be bothered by this because you are putting shaker stuff, but it bothered me. It was a little black dot that was just driving me crazy. So we're gonna put that to the side for a moment. Okay. Well, maybe we can just adhere it down. So let's do that. We'll adhere this down, and we're gonna center it up nice and flat. Okay, and center it because the other red one is going to go centered right above this. So this goes down. This is our background. Okay, now our shaker part, this whole process with the acetate, this is going to be long. We also have some ribbon that we're going to attach in a few, and so I might change it up slightly with that. So on the other side, the back side, so we decide which side is the front. Obviously, because I have my notes over here, this is the front. So this is the front. The acetate has to cover the two holes completely. Okay? So that's what we were looking to make sure happens. And what you want to do is on this side, it doesn't really matter too much on this side, but you should adhere it pretty good because we're going to be adhering pop dots to it in order to make the shaker part happen. Okay? So all I did was go around so you can see with the glue, right? And I'm going to take my acetate, my faux acetate, and I'm going to place it down and smooth it down as flat as possible to my card. And you're going to see that I do have some edges that are hanging off. So all we're going to do is just go under and snip those out. And then go under here, only because it's not adhered all the way down. I don't want it to get in the way or become a weak spot. And then this corner over here, we're gonna, I can't get this one. We're gonna go in here. Okay. And we'll just take off the excess from here. Alright. Acetate trimmed. So let me get all that out of our way, because it can be a little sticky. The acetate is not as staticky as the wrapping, but still the case. So we're going to have to prep this. And so we need dimension because we need area for the shaky bits to shake. And we also need to contain them. So we definitely need for it to be continuous. Now if you can get your hands on some foam tape, that would be awesome, because even if it's wider, you can just cut it down the center and it can be shaped. I have a ton of these Pop Dots. Now I am not going to use the giant ones. I'm going to use the small guys. So you'll notice I have some here. Hold up. Let me take them out of the way. I'm going to get the row. If I just pull this and split it here, right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 individuals. But I'm just going to lift this up as a complete line, right? They're stuck together. And I'm going to start to surround my shape. And so since they are individuals, they will curve. And I'm starting to create a border. And then since I have to go this way and I have these extra loose ones, I can put a couple to start me off in that direction. Okay? And my confetti is not going to include glitter. So this little tiny gap that I have right here is not going to be that much of a big deal. If you have glitter, then you really should have tape. Okay? So we're just going to keep taking off rows of squares and using the fact that they are pre-cut, for lack of a word, we're going to be able to go around the edge. So you do want to check if you get something really close to make sure that it's not visible. And so we're just going to keep on taking all these little square ones, the small ones. So if you have Stampin' Up! Dimensionals and you go that, and it doesn't have to be that thick. You're going to put like not too much inside confetti. The border, the edge to the dimensionals is definitely going to be what you would probably want to aim for. I don't think you want to sit there cutting all those hexagons into halves. So that's my suggestion when it comes to that, that you use the border piece of the hexagons. So see, I'm just making a relatively free form around here. So I have a few more strips to pull out and just go along the hole of the shape of your shaker. Okay, just like that. And I think the only other tedious thing is going to be when you have to take all these little squares off the foam to adhere it to your background. So I could probably use about, I don't know, 3 more here maybe? Let's see. Can I get away with 2? Yeah, I can get away with 2. Okay. So this is the basic idea of shaker frames. If you're either little individual ones, you can do it with the round ones as well, or with foam tape. So if you're really going to be in shaker phase, then you probably want to get yourself some tape. So here we go. That is it. So before I take this off, I'm going to decide to put the ribbon. So I have another ribbon here that I think I want to try. So this is just showing that you can change it up to what you like, and you don't necessarily have to always stick to a design. So we're going to put that one across the back. So again, take some adhesive and we're going to glue that down, go to the front, make sure it's nice and lined up. Look at it again. Okay. If it feels a little bit blah for you, or if it feels like this is moving, then just add a little bit of glue right there. Okay. I can see it. It doesn't bother me too much, but you can actually put a little bow on there if you wanted to. So please, by all means, add to the design. So we are set. We are almost done with this. All we need to do now is to create where we're going to put our shaker stuff. So I'm just looking to see that I want to try to put all of the bits and pieces in this general area. So I'm just laying this off to see, because what we're going to do is we're going to make a pile and then we're going to be placing this. So I may have to bring this a little bit down so I don't get stuff all over the place. So you can get anything that you want. I went to Michael's and I grabbed these, which have the word love in an iridescent and in the black. And the iridescent doesn't really show too well, so I stepped with the black. I think that's what spurred me to do a black, white, and red. Plus, they're like three of my favorite, that's like a favorite combination of colors. Then we have some hearts. So they had some average size hearts. So, you know, a few. You want enough that you're going to see when it's sitting in the bottom of the shaker part, right? So you want enough that it's going to be visible when the card is held up, and you're still going to see the pieces here. And not so much that when you shake it, it's really not doing much. So we'll put some of those. And again, remember, I was trying to see where I'm going to lay it so that I don't get it on this pop dots. We'll take some tinier hearts, okay, from Michael's as well. They only had red, so that's what I got in terms of single hearts. And then, if you wanted, you could punch paper and do this as well with one of these or the confetti punches easily. Then I have this, which are open hearts and they're iridescent. So I'm going to throw some of these guys on here. And I think the other one that I have, yes, this has a little bit of pink, which is fine. We're just going to throw it on there to give it some variety. If you don't like the pink, then leave it out. Okay, you could also put stars in there, whatever shape that you want, along with the love. So I'm clustering it and I'm double checking, and it seems fine. So now here's the tedious part. We're going to take all these little pieces of paper off of the pop dots. So this is what takes the time, and this is what would be much easier if you had foam tape. And also, you'll notice that this is attached to the acetate, so you want to be able to pull at it and not pull off the acetate. So that's why the acetate needs to be adhered very well to your card. All right. So I am halfway guys, halfway. And so even though this is supposed to be the way that my tutorials are going to be, and I've tried to not talk to you guys and try to just talk about the project, I kind of want to know at this point how you feel. If you are willing to comment, leave me suggestions. Like I said, that would be awesome. But since, you know, I'm trying to do the tutorial start to finish and show everything and tell you about everything, then should we be forwarding this? We should fast forward this, right? So everything looks like it's off. So now I'm going to have to go as close as I can. Try to make this as tight as you can, and then place down your thing. I almost forgot. The corners need to have dimensionals as well. So I'm going to grab four of these. I almost forgot. So one there, and it should match the height of the dimensionals. And so I'm using that to also hold down. So I'm not just putting it on the ribbon, I'm using it to help hold down so it's on both. It just needs to add the height. It doesn't really matter too much where it is, as long as it's not too far from the edge. Okay, so we'll take those off now. And then we would adhere it over our little cluster of confetti sequins. Okay, so now I know more or less where I'm at, and I want to put it down, and I'm going to hope that I don't get crooked. Once I feel like it looks, okay, I got to bring it closer to me, guys. Okay. Okay. So once you feel like it's down, okay, there you go. So I can tell that I landed with some pop dots on the confetti. That's up to you whether it bothers you a ton or not. You can try to take it apart. If you feel that it bothers you a ton and it's jamming it up, I would suggest sticking your finger underneath as gently as possible to that spot. I'm already able to do that. And moving some of that confetti out of the way. I hate that this happened during a tutorial, but sometimes we also need to know how to fix. So if I can get that lifted and I can stick, all right. All right, maybe, see, it may not be worth it. It's good, guys. It's good. Look, there you go. One of the hearts got stuck up there, but you have the essence. You know what a shaker card looks like, and we have created the second card. So a little more technique than the first item. And now we're going to dial it back and do something more basic. So here's our second card, and with its little issues, but still. Would you mind issues in the tutorial and fixes or potential fixes, even though I didn't really get to fix this too much? Or do you want a tutorial that is straight up perfect? So that's a good question to ask in this learning process. Alright, so here's where you would stop if you were done and did not want to see the third project. Otherwise, we'll move on to the final project. Okay? So, original and newbie. Okay. So, here are the elements I showed you earlier. We have the card stock, which is craft color, and it is an 11 by 4 1/4. And this will be a top fold card, which we'll do in a minute. I cut out a 5.5 by 2.5 and a 5.5 by 1 inch. This is going to be layered to create our card front. And so we have some of these components already. We already have the heart, and we have the scrap pieces of white that we will need to make our other embellishments. Okay? And on the inside, I added some additional little hearts. So whatever you can get out of all of your scraps, by all means use. So let's go. We're going to take this again. You can score it officially on a scoreboard. I will just fold it and use the side of my stylus, which is in front of me, and have myself a top fold card. So after this video, if I'm going to be using this card, I will need to cover this, unless, let's see, unless this covers. And it does. So my original is a little off to the side, but remember, we can change it up any way we like. So I'm going to layer my gray piece with 2.5 by 5.5. Go down the edges, and I'm going to layer that on the front. So I'm going to match it up to the edge on the top, and I'm going to make sure that it goes straight down. So there we go. Okay, first layer. If it hangs over a little bit and it bothers you, and especially if you can see it, just take a little snip. I mean, we have trimmers that sometimes aren't exactly perfect. So again, we've layered it, it's straight, and if this little piece happens to be a little longer, then by all means cut that off. Then 5.5 by 1 inch. We're going to do it again on the edges, as close to the edge, because we want the layers to lay flat and tight to each other. And so with this one, I'm going to do it slightly off-centered and make sure that it's straight and parallel. So this distance, you want to keep that thickness consistent and lay that down. And again, check if this edge has any kind of crazy pieces sticking out. just turn it over and you can easily snip it off. Okay, so there we go. We've got the basic card pretty much done. What we're going to need is to stamp the greeting, which we're going to use the memento now. So it is the Love You Always from the stamp set. Again, Something to Say. And again, it's acting up, so I'm going to just put a little tape, sticky tape. I'm going to ink this Love You Always up. And because I'm going to use a punch, and I know I'm going to cut around it, I don't want to stick in the middle. I want to be able to use as much of the other parts as I can. So I'm going to put it slight into the corner and do a nice stamp. Okay? So it could have been a little darker than I would have liked. And normally, well, I could flip it over. Let's try it again. Grab a good amount of ink. Ink this up very well. Maybe you want to use StazOn if it's not that dark. If this isn't dark enough for you. And then again, down, press well, straight up. A little better. I think I'll use that one. Okay. So we're going to take our square 1-inch punch, which Stampin' Up! Has, but I have an EK Success, so that's the only reason why it's a different color. So you can definitely get it from Stampin' Up! If you wanted. So same kind of design. And we're going to take this, center the Love You Always inside, and pop it out. Oh, I should have moved that. Almost got ink on it. Okay. And then we will have the rest of this to make additional embellishments. So we'll decide on that in a minute. Then we will need the layering piece. I'm going to close that, get that out the way. Get this out the way. And I know I'm horrible, right? I won't do this during a regular tutorial. Okay, I'm going to open this punch up again. I'm going to try to go as close to the edge and save as much paper because I want to be able to utilize as much of my paper. So now I have a little bit of space here that I could get some other punches out of. Okay. So we're done with that. And I will bring back my heart punches. Okay. So what you're going to do is lay out hearts for embellishments. This is on a pop dot, so I'm going to take one of these square guys. I'm going to put it on the back of the Love You Always. And then we're going to put it on the layering scallop square. Okay. So this embellishment is ready, good to go. I'm not going to put it down because I want to play with the layout of things. I have the heart punch and I have this guy here. And I did have a red one initially, but I found out that I don't have a lot of red. I can pull some other scrap, but I'm going to work with what we have in front of us. And let's see if this sweetheart will fit. So I will take this punch here and see that it does fit. And so this guy will be white on this. And I need as many other heart embellishments as we can get. So I will take this one and I will pop out as many hearts with this accent punch as I can. So if you can't fit it in there because something's blocking your way, just move it out of your way. So we have two. See if we can get another. Oh my goodness, square. Another there. And another there. Whether I'll use them all or not, I don't know. What's interesting is that I do have some area and I can just go ahead and try to punch from this one some white parts. And again, a little tiny one over here. I apologize. Okay. And I think that's pretty much, that scrap is pretty much done. And so what I'm going to do is just grab this one, stick this in, and try to get as many full hearts in here as possible. Excuse me. And try to squeeze in a sweetheart. Anything that you can. And then you know what? I always keep an iris box and throw in my extra punchinella. And what I don't use, I can use in another project. So I am done with all my punching. And so I'm going to be adhering all of this together. The last thing I need to do is my bow. My ribbon. Okay. And so I have used the other material to make this. So let's see. This was just a spool that I had on hand. I'm going to cut, again, 18 inches. Ribbon again is very, so let's see. This is a trick that I saw on YouTube. So we wrap it around our 2 fingers. We push this through the back and up, and then this one goes up as well. And then you wrap it and you put it through, and then you pull. And that's it. You have yourself a bow. Wasn't that awesome? I forgot where I got this from, but I love it. So I have a bow here that I can add. So I'll cut off. If you want to do it again and have slightly different, I think 18 inches might be too short, but we'll try. If you want to have a double, you open your fingers, you wrap it around twice, and by the second time it's coming around, again, push it behind, completely everything, and then up towards the front, and then this tail that you've been holding on to, you tie with the piece that you push through, make a tie, and then you have a double bow. So then you can separate the two together, separate them, and you have a nice little double bow. Okay, so I think that's a bit much. I'm going to stick with the single bow, but that's your bow making. And now we're going to figure out where we're going to lay everything. So I'm just going to put some pieces down. So I'm going to take my tape, add some tape to my heart, place my heart here. There we go. Take the big white heart and then place that there so that they are together. If you wanted to pop them, you can definitely do that. I'm going to take, these are all small, so I'm going to take a zig. I think it's a zig. It's like a zig. It's a 2-way squeeze and roll gel kind of glue. And I'm going to put some glue dots, some dots of glue, and then lay down the heart. Okay, and then we'll put a couple here, and so I will take a couple of the other red ones and maybe a tiny little white one. And now I need to put the Love You Always and the bow. So I think I'm going to change it up slightly. I could put it there, but I'm going to just add some adhesive to the back of my Love You Always. And then on my bow, I'm going to use some glue dots, which I don't have in front of me, so I guess we will use some tape. So I'm just going to add some tape around the center. This is adhesive that is extreme tack, so this should do a decent job. And I'm going to attach the bow to my card. Okay, And over here looks a little empty, and I have plenty of hearts. So I'm going to take another white one, place that there, take another red one, place that there, and then take another little tiny red one. So we're doing them clusters of odd numbers. So cluster of 3, technically 5 up here, and so the front of the card is done. And so on the interior of the card of this one, I had all white hearts, right? So now we're just going to put a bunch of dots in a cascading kind of fashion and just adhere all of the extra hearts that I had left over. From all of my punching. If you find anything that's not a full heart, you can take that out of the mix. And then I'm going to put a bigger one up here, so I'm going to add some more. Okay. So I'm using them all today. That's just fine. Okay. There you go. So this is your basic card. Okay? Basic meaning it's just layers of embellishment. And if this is bothering you like it's bothering me, just snip off the little edge so it doesn't hang over, and this can be snipped as well to match the length. My little embellishment fell off because I didn't let it dry. Okay. Alright. There we go. Okay. So, this was your 3 project tutorial video. I hope that you've enjoyed and that you enjoyed the class and that you will visit again. And so with this video, you've seen it again step by step. You've seen how it could change up. So here is our 3rd basic card. And so one more time, we had a basic card which included embellishments obtained from the scraps of the different pieces of paper that we had to cut. Specifically this heart, which came from our technically more advanced card, which was, again, this was the original shaker design, and a little bit more gussied up shaker during the tutorial. And then finally your 3D project, which was your cracker boxes. So this was our original, which had the gray, and this was our double layer tag to change up a little bit, and we can see the whole stamped image. So thank you again, and I hope that you will come back. Alright, so what do you guys think? Hopefully you have spent the time with me, and would this be a class that you would like to attend? Would this be something that you'd be willing to, you know, purchase? Did you feel that you got something out of this? So I would love anything and all feedback, and comments below would be great. So again, Scrappy Gamer DDS. I am local in Queens, in Glendale. I have this channel, Scrappy Gamer DDS, and I also have a meetup group, Scrappy Gamer Crafty Events in Glendale. So if you're part of Meetup, you can actually look for my events on that website as well. Alright, thank you so much again, and like I say, crafting is not a spectator sport. Let's get our hand dirty and have some fun. So thank you so much once again. Bye.